I watched a video from a coach yesterday, and it helped me tremendously. So I just thought, why not forward the favor, forward the kindness, and share with you all some of the things that I learned. So um, before I just go into it, there is this concept of every time we grow and we become stronger and we become more of ourselves, it's almost like a rebirth. And we go through birthing pain, and some people compare it to a butterfly. As a matter of fact, I watched a little post from a friend showing how a monarch butterfly evolves from this tiny little snail, and then it eats this big leaf, and this whole process that it goes through. What we don't realize is that this butterfly, it takes time. It's a process, and we really need to be patient with ourselves, because during that process, there is a time when the butterfly, as ourselves, are in the goo, are really like in the chrysalis, in the goo, and it feels horrible. It doesn't feel like we are growing. It feels like we are stuck, and it feels like a death, because it is the death of the former way of that we used to live. And now we are growing into a new and more evolved way of living. So it takes time. We really need to be patient and kind with ourselves, especially on the hard days, not to be hard on yourself. So, what my coach was sharing was that the power that you are in this world, the light that you are in this world, is so incredible, and you don't always feel that way. Sometimes you feel so dark because you only see the shadow side of that light that you are. And even when you are having dark days, you are still a light in the world. You don't feel that way, but it's still a fact. So I heard a comparison to a story from the olden times when there were kings, and there was a worker for the king who worked in the garden. He was supposed to carry a big bucket of water into the kitchen for the people to be able to cook for the king's meals. And it wasn't just him that carried the bucket of water. There were a lot of other people, and his bucket was a little bit cracked. He dropped it or something, and it had a crack, so it kept on dripping. And by the time he arrived to the palace, it was like half of the water already gone. And every day he would berate himself for, like, everybody is so much faster than him. Everybody is getting so much more water to serve the king, and he is like with this little bit of water. And then one day the king tells him, thank you for your service. And he looks at the king and he's so surprised. And the king says, you don't realize, but when you have this cracked bucket, while you are walking through the garden, all the roses and all the flowers are getting watered. So now, because of you, a whole row of flowers are growing so much more beautiful. And that is how we affect the world around us. We don't realize that us just expressing our innate being is the most beautiful light. And we may feel half empty, but at the same time, people are being inspired just by you being in this world. And it's a blessing when you can see it and when you know it, but sometimes you just have to believe it. Sometimes you just have to remind yourself that that's true. And I hope this helps someone. I hope you remember how amazing you are, even on the dark days, especially on the dark days, because that takes a lot of courage. And it's almost like a bow and arrow. When you want to pull back to shoot that arrow very, very far, you pull back a lot. And that's how it feels in the body when we are about to launch into that new way of being, into that new life. It feels very dark and very pulled back from our usual way of feeling alive, right? Sometimes it can feel like, what's the point of this? Like, I don't even want all this. Like, what's even the point of living? That's how hard it can get. But know that this is just part of the process. Be patient with yourself and be kind with yourself. So I hope this helps someone, and I wish you all a lovely rest of the week. Thank you for listening.